So I decided to talk about my journey of developing leadership. So basically how I've gained all my leadership skills. And I'd like to mention just kind of all the advice about being a leader that I've learned along the way. But first off, a little bit about me, and because we haven't all met personally. So I go to the University of Central Florida. Here's our logo and our mascot. It's my second year there, but I am completely online right now, so I'm actually at home. So I am a biomedical sciences major. I am pre-med. I plan on going to medical school and going to radiology, which I think is really cool, but I'm also open to other options like maybe surgery, but I have time to decide that. Um, so dance has been a huge part of my life, as you're gonna see like really soon. It's where I gained most of my leadership experience from. So the studio I grew up at is called The Dance Company, a very simple name. And here's a picture from outside of the studio. I have done all the different styles of dance, and I've even competed. I did yoga also, but like point, tap, hip hop, jazz, lyrical, modern, and the list just goes on and on. But if you look really closely in the picture of my studio, you'll see that it is right on the beach. So the beach is also a huge part of my life. I grew up right here on the beach. I'm just really used to being right next to it, kind of spoiled with that. Other things I like to do are baking and any form of physical activity. You know, if you want me to do a sport with you, count me in. I don't care what it is. Some of you may know I recently took up wrestling as a sport. It's very different from dance, but I will try anything. All right, now to get into my leadership dance camp. So for leadership development, I gained most of my leadership skills from dance camp here. I did dance camp for about 8 summers, and before those 8 summers of running the camp, I was a camper. You know, I loved the camp, but I grew out of it. So there's an age limit. It's for kids aged 3 to 10. And once I was too old to like go to the camp, I started volunteering at it for hours. And so I would help teachers run their classes, and eventually got to the point where I had helped at camp so much that I could run it myself. And that's exactly what happened. I started leading my own classes at the camp. And like I mentioned, the ages of campers was from 3 to 10. So the gap of maturity and coordination between a 3-year-old and a 10-year-old is pretty huge. So you're working with a lot of children, like a very big variety age-wise. But most of the teachers at the camp wanted the older kids. They could do more stuff with them. They behaved better. They were just like easier to deal with. Although when given the choice, I chose the little babies every single time. I was the only one ever asking to have them. And I'm not sure why I was really drawn to them, because they were a bit of a challenge to deal with. But I guess I like the challenge. I also like kind of like the simplicity of them. But learning to lead these small children is where my journey to understanding leadership just took off. I have led up to a class of 15 3 and 4-year-olds. And there are so many challenges that come with leading like so many little ones at once. First of all, they just have, that's the wrong side. They have horrible attention spans. They are not the best listeners, and their minds are just all over the place. And it takes special activities and a lot of work to keep their attention. So overcoming this challenge mainly had to do with figuring out just what the individuals in the class really loved. They'll pay attention when they want to. So you have to figure out like something that means a lot to them. Another problem is they can't sit still and struggle with keeping quiet. And that makes it really hard to keep them from just like running around and screaming, because that's exactly what they would do the second someone let their guard down. And so I figured out that the solution to this problem was pretty similar to the last. If you have something or are doing something interesting, they'll stop whatever they are doing and listen. Although getting them to keep quiet took a bit more than that. You need to earn more of a respect in order for them to stop talking over you. They would really only stay quiet under the direction of certain people, and I honestly is still a little bit unsure on that one. Now, to top off the list of challenges, I have students that didn't speak English. Their family would be taking a long vacation here and would send them to the camp to give them something to do during the day, but they didn't know the language. So I had to learn how to lead children who could not understand a single word of what I was saying. And it came down to a lot of like physical gestures, like pointing. And although that wasn't the hardest challenge I faced as a leader. So the hardest challenge that I faced was overcoming communication barriers with children with disabilities. So mostly children with autism. We had children with Down syndrome too, but they were easier to communicate with. So children with autism have trouble communicating, socializing, and behaving. And I said previously how I had found ways to get the class to follow and listen to me, but these children don't follow like the rest of the class does. And so this was really frustrating until I learned how to lead them. So when it comes to children with certain disabilities, you need to communicate to them on a different level. So although I can't stress this enough, what I've learned about how to communicate with these children that I taught, it's valid to be applied to any leadership setting. So this level of communication and can and should especially be used with adults too. So this advice of what I have learned can be applied to any leadership situation that we may encounter. And I try to use it when leading my team here too. So here's what I learned that I need to do in order to be able to communicate with these children and have them understand and follow. So you have to take time to understand them before you expect them to understand you. You're going to have to give them a bit of extra attention to figure this one out. You have to take a minute to try to understand how they're perceiving the world and what they're responding to. So when you see what they respond to and what they don't, then you're picking up their learning style and you're learning how you should lead them. And that goes hand in hand with getting on their level. The next level, this next piece of advice that I'm going to give, it can't quite be applied as easily to our daily lives as the other, but if you ever end up working with one of these children, you should know how to do this. You should know this. So this is dance camp. At dance camp, everyone's free to express themselves and dance in their own ways, but we do try to teach actual dance moves. So these kids likely won't follow the new moves you show them immediately. So here's what you have to do. You let them show their own moves, and then you copy them. So when you copy them, you're showing them that you're on the same level as them. And then after that, you begin changing into what you want them to do. And then they're going to start copying you. So by coming onto their level, you gain their trust, and now they're going to follow you better. So as a leader, no one's going to follow you if they don't trust you. So these children, they have trouble trusting. So getting on their level helps them trust you enough to follow you. And then finally, last thing, you need to have patience. So the journey to figuring this out did not happen within one class period. It took me years of teaching children to learn how to control and engage the class. And then it took me 2 weeks of working with one special kid to figure out how to get him to listen to me with all this. Now, just to sum everything up, all the advice that I learned about how to be a good leader from leading kids at dance camp. So to keep people following you, you need to make sure you're leading them in something they're interested in. Your crowd and keep them interested and excited. You need to understand the individuals that you're trying to lead, so everyone learns things a bit differently. You have to figure out individual learning styles and then tend to that. And you need to get on their level. Take time to understand who you're leading, earn their respect in order for them to want to follow you. Why would they listen to you if you don't take time to listen to them? Finally, have patience. Many will not immediately trust and follow you when you gain a leadership position, but that's okay. Take time to learn who you're working with and to gain their trust and following. So while I've learned all this from working with children, I think that it can all be applied to working with adults. We like being heard and understood too. I think that more adult leaders should have this approach. And that is all. Thank you.